I am promoting now. We have a lengthy list, so I want to make sure I get everybody in.
Okay, because I can help you with mine because I'm noticing a lot of the last names are not on there.
Okay, if you're able to promote yours, that's great. Thank you.
I don't think I can. I don't think I have the power, but I can tell you the names are.
Okay, go ahead.
So the first one I see is my daughter, Alex Land. I think the next one is Christine. Just Christine.
Using.
I need your help.
You can close the Google screen.
This.
Yeah.
Close it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what else do I need to do?
Laura, also Rose, her
Her
last name. I've got a lot of folks with no last names.
If you click on it, it'll say start.
Okay.
And that'll put Armando out of your.
Okay. Okay, Bob, I think we're ready. If we got everybody promoted.
Where is, Ms. Chalkley, are we ready to go? We got everybody who needs to be.
I am still promoting attendees, but we do have, it looks like we have all board members. And it looks like we have, we're still missing Elizabeth McManus. So let me see if I can find Liz. Okay, I'm promoting Liz.
Just want to ask, how is this going to work with the interpretation? How do I?
We'll go over that in just a second. We'll move you to the we'll move you to the interpreting room.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready now?
Mm-hmm.
We do have a long list, but I'm promoting as quickly as I can. I think you can probably start and I'll just keep promoting. And Shar Aquino is also helping me.
Okay, well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Griffin, and welcome you to the school board meeting. This is my first time on Zoom as anything other than a participant, so forgive me in advance for all the errors I will make this evening. But anyway, I'll start with roll call. Welcome Trustee Andrade Zuniga. Present?
Present.
Okay. Trustee Land?
Present.
Okay. Trustee Lees Dwyer?
Present.
And Trustee Hanley?
Yes, here.
Okay, and Trustee Griffin, and the first person is also here. I'll ask the superintendent with his mask on or off to lead us in Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, Superintendent, it looks like you're going to head up the at least start with the swearing in and the reorganization of the board.
I am indeed. So I think what I'd like to say is we have folks who are here as guests for this event. So we certainly welcome you and your family. And we want to say right off that we appreciate your support of the new trustees, the family members. As I said to Mr. Friedman's family when he left, thank you for allowing your board member to serve. It's a sacrifice that the whole family makes, and it's a family affair. You're going to have lots of conversations about what goes on in the district over the dinner table or at other times. And so you're going to learn a lot, just like our spouses of our teachers learn about this amazing work that we do here. So what I'd like to do, if it pleases the board, is start with Mr. Land. And what what I'd like to do is allow you to mention some of your family that's here, and then we'll do the oath of office for you, and then we'll do the same thing with Trustee Zuniga, and then what we'll do is have some public comments from other people who've joined us and want to speak here. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Land.
Thank you. This is probably my last election. So I just wanted to really bring my family in. I forgot about the electeds, but it's good to see some electeds in here. But for family, I have my daughter, Alex, my wonderful wife, Rose, who has to bear with us every Thursday. I also would like to thank some of my family. My sister's here and my mom is also here. My mother-in-law's here. Alton, I see you. Who else? Dale, my brother Dale, brother-in-law, is here. Jessica Antonio, one of my nieces. Let's see. The McWilliams family is in the background. Kevin's there. Thanks, Kevin, for being there. And I think I've looked at all our list of people. So yeah, I have quite a few family members. We have a big family on both sides, so it's nice to see everybody.
Okay, so now, Mr. Land, if you could repeat after me. I,
Greg Land,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter. Okay, congratulations, Mr. Land.
Thank you.
Okay, trustees, well, soon to be trustees, Zuniga.
Yes, I have my mom and my brother here, Patricia Ordóñez, and a colleague, Eddie Flores. He's in the north part of the county on the Board of Trustees there. And Leslie Avila Rojas, May Chanmoy, Lindsay Verma, who worked really hard on my campaign. They were amazing. And I just owe a lot to them. Also, Hector Camacho, who is a huge leader in our community. And I think that's all I see so far. My partner, Pete Williams, who was my treasurer, and my boys are here at home with me, and they're watching this. So I'm so excited, and I'm just grateful to be in this position. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so let's do this. I,
Ligia Andrade Zuniga,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
discharge the duties of which I am about to enter.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. I also
Trustee.
wanted to give a shout out to Kathy Enan. She's also here.
Okay, great. All right, I think that's the first part here.
Dr. Skelly, if I could interject, we should move Armando Molina, our interpreter, over to the interpretation
Yes,
room.
thank you very much.
So I'll just briefly explain to our audience that we do have an interpreter tonight for Spanish speakers. So in just a moment, I'll ask him to restate what I'm stating, and then we will move him over to the interpretation room, and Dr. Skelly will activate a little globe on the bottom of your screen. You click the globe, click Spanish, and you'll be moved into that channel. So Armando, if you wouldn't mind, and you can certainly simplify what I just said, can you share that with the audience? Thank you so much.
Buenas noches, estamos aquí reunidos para esta reunión de la Junta y esta señora Chackley dice que si necesitan interpretación, va a haber otro como cuarto que vamos a entrar y virtual y ahí va a haber como un globo o ahí donde pueden seleccionar para escuchar lo que vamos a hablar en español.
Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Skelly will activate the globe. And also, we do have two speakers on this item. We have Hector Camacho, and we have Mayor Emily Beach.
Tenemos dos personas que van a hablar. El señor Héctor Camacho y la señora Mayor. I'm sorry, was that?
Okay, he's translating
Mayor,
now.
Emily
so-
Beach.
Mayor Beach.
Yes, thank you. And now we'll move you over to the interpretation channel.
Okay,
Dr.
so.
Skelly, can you move Mr. Molina, and then we'll have Mr. Camacho speak, please.
I think I did. I think I moved him. No?
Click on this.
Are we good?
Mr. Camacho's president now, so President Camacho.
Did I do something wrong?
The globe is there.
Yeah. Okay, wait a minute.
It's there. You got it.
You're not saying anything, so he's not saying anything.
Okay.
Mr. Molina, can you just say hello, and then we'll be able to tell if you're over in the right channel? I think
Okay.
he's in the right spot. Okay,
Yeah.
we're good to go.
All right, so it looks like I'm on. So thank you all for having me here this evening. It's so great to see this board even through the little tiles. I'll be really brief. I'm Hector Camacho. I'm from the County Board of Education, and I wanted to take a little second just to say congratulations to my good friend Greg Land on his reelection,
Y quiero
and really
darle
congratulate and give a warm welcome to
una
Trustee
bienvenida
Andrade Zuniga. Like,
al
I met
fideicomisario.
Ligia, it was in the early 90s, I think I met Ligia when we were working in the
Y fue en los
community a long
90s.
time ago. And it is such an honor to see her here, to serve the community, to represent so many people. It's truly an honor to see you there, Ligia, and I know that you're going to do an incredible job. So congratulations on your election. Congratulations, Greg, on your re-election, and I wish you all the best this school year.
Thank you, Hector.
So Mayor Beach.
Thank you so much, honorable trustees and Superintendent Scully. It's really a pleasure to say a few words tonight. I am here for the same reason that Mr. Camacho is here as well, just to offer huge heartfelt congratulations to Trustee Land for his reelection and continuing service to the high school district, and also to Trustee Andrade Zuniga for her election to the district as well, to the Board of Trustees. You know, this is not an easy time to be an elected official, particularly in the education realm, and we're so grateful for you stepping up to the plate and being willing to serve. We need good people in these positions, making key decisions for our community more than ever, and we're so grateful to each of you. You both and all of you on the board, but our newly electeds bring particularly valuable perspectives and life experiences and different superpowers to the team. And we wish you just all the best on behalf of the city of Burlingame, just one of the many cities that you serve. Thank you so very much for your service, and we wish you all the best in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. So we're going to move on to H2. Are there any more speakers on H1 before we move on to the board, I guess, organization or reorganization?
No, those are all the public speakers we have for tonight. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
H2.
So this next item is a board policy that describes the terms of the president, vice president, and clerk of the board, and they should be 1 year in length, commencing with the annual organization meeting, which takes place on or after the second Friday of December. These positions shall rotate each year at the organizational meeting, with the vice president becoming president, clerk becoming vice president, and the next highest person on the rotation list becoming clerk. Appoint a secretary to the board and authorize signatures if necessary. So I think this means usually we have this ceremony in this room where I'm sitting, and we move chairs and move nameplates and all that. Those things aren't necessary in the Zoom world, so you don't have to get up and move around. But we are now we have a new president, and that's Mr. Griffin, and a vice president that's Mr. Hanley. And I think the clerk is you, Ms. Lee Dwyer, and I think I'm the secretary to the board. So with that, I think on we go.
Okay, and then we need to appoint a district representative for the county committee on school district organization. Is it Trustee Land? Are you the current representative?
Actually, I think you are this year. I would. I was last year.
What are we rotating in reverse orders?
It's open. It's a one-shot deal. It's a one-meeting thing, and if y'all want to do it, we just did it. You know, it's once a year. That's it.
Does anybody wish to serve on that committee?
I don't mind doing it again if nobody wants it, but if somebody wants it, they can have it.
I don't see any hands. Are there any hands? Any volunteers? Trustee Land, you win the honor for a second year in a row.
Yeehaw. Okay, I'm in.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to read, because we're going to go into public and governing board comments. I'm going to read the statement here. This is a public meeting of the San Mateo Union High School District Board of Trustees. If you wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during the public comment section at the beginning of the agenda, please send an email to comments@SMUHSD.org with your name, email address, and your Zoom name, if different, and the item under which you would like to comment. The board president will call on you. Please note comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. Okay. Is there any public comment at this time? Ms. Shockley?
We have 2 public comments. We have Mary Rustia and we have Craig Childress.
Okay. Ms. Rustia?
Hi, my name is Mary Ristia. I've been teaching at Mills since 1991, and I'm here for 3 reasons, and they have to do with numbers. First, I want to thank Ms. McManus for your work these past years. You have guided our district to be financially responsible and at the same time meet the needs of our community. I woke up early this morning to not only grade 62 freshman bio PE final projects, but I also read the independent audit reports of the fiscal year ending June 2020. One set of numbers I'd like the trustee to look at is on page 9. The 2020 report states that we now have over 9,000 students and 2,500 are economically disadvantaged. That's 26%. I bring this up because these students, all students, are counting on us to spend the district funds on them now. This brings me to the next numbers. Class size for freshmen. I have calculated 30 more teachers would cost the district about $3 million more dollars. An additional teacher for each of the 5 core classes freshman year. We should have done this past fall. We can still make time for this spring semester. This freshman class needs us to respond to the fact that they did not graduate from 8th grade. They have no physical connection to their school and barely know anyone. Do you know how many Zoom squares I can fit on my laptop? About 24. The freshmen need and deserve smaller class sizes. I bring this up because I also calculated my grades this morning. 2 of my freshman biology classes. For the first time in my career, I have 10 out of 62 have earned an F letter grade. That's 16%. 40 out of 62 earned a B or better in bio. That's 65%. Normally, I'd have 85% meeting that B or better goal. And this is not out of lack of trying to connect. I would like to end with some fun numbers. I teach 3 classes of biotechnology. Because of collaboration over 4 weeks, of course, this summer with Skyline and the 3 other biotech teachers in this district, all the students will earn spring semester biotech Skyline community credit. Out of the 94 students in biotech at Mills, there are only 2 failing. I credit this to the fact that we have made the curriculum fun and accessible. We did this thanks to Jimmy Akita and Dean Andrea Visner by spending strong workforce funds. We made sure every student received equipment that allowed them to learn basic lab techniques of making solutions. All the students received a scale, package of Kool-Aid, conical tubes. This is a perfect example of spending funds directly on meeting the students and their needs now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Childress.
Good evening, President Griffin, members of the board, district cabinet. I'm going to diverge from talking about the pandemic tonight because I think we need to be a little more celebratory. I do want to sincerely congratulate Trustee Land for his re-election to the board and his continued service of the community. As I mentioned earlier, the last meeting or so, I truly appreciate the service that you all provide and the steadfast support of our students that you constantly devote yourselves to. I also want to congratulate Ms. Andrade Zuniga and welcome her to the board. She's going to be a wonderful addition, as Mr. Camacho said. She brings a representation to the board she's essentially going to be a role model for many of our students and families and provide understanding for a perspective that, well, just putting it bluntly, it needs to be understood. I'm pleased to say that our association supported both of the candidates, and I'm so proud that they were both successful in their elections. I also wanted to welcome Mr. Hawkins as the new CBO and look forward to working productive and collaboratively with him in the years to come. So that's all for me. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to everyone. And yeah, let's be positive. And as Dr. Skelly said today, we're moving forward with some optimism. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. Oh, let's go to board comments. Do we have comments? Ms. Andrade Zuniga, do you have any board comments at this point?
I just wanted to thank everybody for their support. And I thank the board for welcoming me into the family. I'm looking forward to representing everybody the best that I can. And I'm just really excited about this new endeavor. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Trustee Land.
I'm just going to say very similarly, one, I'm really grateful to all the family who was on tonight for me. That was important. They normally don't get to come on, and they don't get to enjoy this wonderful meeting that goes on for hours and hours and hours. But I also would like to welcome Lihia to our board. I'm glad we both won. Congratulations. you are going to be a great service to our board, and your representation is important. And I'm really happy that you're here. So congratulations. And I definitely want to meet your brother again, since I was his teacher. All right.
Trustees Lees Dwyer.
Okay, first I want to thank Elizabeth McManus for her 15 years of service. We celebrated a little this morning on Zoom, and she has done such amazing things for this district over the years, and she will be very missed. And I want to make sure she knows how appreciated she is and all of the work that she has done for the district. All really she has to do is just drive around, look at the buildings, and look at all the equipment that the students have, and look at, there's so many things that she's accomplished. But most of all, she cares about kids, and she puts them first, and everything that she's done has been student-centered. And for that, will always be grateful. Second, I want to congratulate Greg Land. We need an educator on this board, and your insight is so invaluable. And I really appreciate the work you do during the day and then what you bring to us at night. Miss Andrade Zuniga, I'm so excited that you're on our board. You did your homework like no one I've ever known running for office. You called us, you asked such intelligent questions, and you just shared your commitment and how much you cared about the work that you were going to take on. So I have to say that I was very impressed with you, and I continue to be, and I'm very excited to work with you. I was in CVS like last week, and John Horgan, who everyone pretty much knows, because he did a lot of writing for the San Mateo Times, and then he wrote for us, and now he's writing for the Daily Journal. And he was in line checking out, and I'm in line, and we're masked up, and I go, Horgan, and he says, hey, I got to tell you something. And he said, that Andrade Zuniga, I know her. I served on a committee with her years ago, a commission. He goes, she's amazing. And I thought, wow, here I am in CVS, and I'm hearing about our new board member. So I'm very excited that you're highly recommended by John Horgan, and that you were elected and you're here with us today. So thank you.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes, I want to congratulate Greg on his re-election and taking the oath again, and also welcome Lahia to the board. Anyone who wants to run for school board at any time deserves a lot of credit, but certainly anyone who wants to run for school board in the middle of a pandemic, I think is especially brave. So welcome to the board, and I look forward to continuing to work with Greg and to working with you also over the next few years. I have a couple of serious things I wanted to talk about tonight. There's an incident that happened on Tuesday with one of the council members in Foster City, who I actually don't know, but I think it's worth calling out. And I'm sure I'm going to mess up her name, Risha Awasi T, who's on the Foster City Council. Someone in the evenings threw a rock through her window, and this comes on the heels of Amaranthe Lee's incident in June, when the same thing happened to her, who's on the city council in San Mateo. And I'm finding these really, despicable, cowardly acts against elected officials in our community. And you're seeing these things happen to elected officials around the country. People showing up at their houses with guns in Michigan and Georgia. We're seeing a movement where people are abandoning, democratic principles, and I think it's up to us, not only as citizens, but especially as other elected officials, to really stand up and speak very loudly against these kinds of actions when we see them. And this has just got to stop. I mean, we've now got a major political party that seems to be abandoning democratic principles, and we've got news organizations that are really operating as propaganda machines. And most Americans, unfortunately, don't have the experience that I've had of living and working in the former Soviet Union and living and working in Eastern Europe when it was communist, and living and working in China. You know, I see these events as, you know, very dangerous. These are the things that happen in these countries that are dictatorships, that are fascist, and we have to stamp these things out. They're things that can grow, and right now I think we have a cancer on our democracy, and people like us who are elected to office have a particular responsibility when we see these things happening, and particularly happening to our colleagues, to just stand up and say, no, this has to stop. And I hope the police departments in San Mateo and Foster City are working especially hard to find out who's doing this and who's behind it, and bring them to justice, because this is dangerous. So I wanted to speak out against this. This is bad. So that's one thing I wanted to bring to the community's attention. The other thing is, I was on a call with Dr. Morrow on Wednesday. Days are starting to run together, and you know, our rate of infection is grown 8 times from what it was just in July. It was 4 infections per 100,000 in July. It's now 40. And most of that's come since Thanksgiving. We got a little bit of a blip after Halloween, and we've just taken off like a rocket ship since Thanksgiving. And a lot of that, almost all of it, according to Dr. Murrow, over 90% of it is coming from people gathering with family and friends. He says over 90% of it is getting traced to gathering with family and friends. So, you know, we're putting together this plan to try to get our students back on campus. And that is never going to happen if we don't get out of purple. And if we don't get out of purple, we are never going to open our schools. So I really encourage you, don't travel over Christmas. You know, it's one Christmas, one New Year's. Just give it up for this year. Stay home. Please stay home. Because otherwise, we're going to be looking at infections that are growing and growing through January and growing through February. And we're going to have a very hard time ever implementing our plans. So please, stay home, wear a mask, stay 6 feet away from people. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Okay, I wish I could I don't wish I could disagree with any of the comments. The comments are all good, and you used up all the time, anything I would have said. So let's move on. We've got the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull an item?
I move approval.
I actually want to, and I want to pull the grand jury responses and just to talk, to make a comment or two. So we got a motion. Is there a second?
Second, with your amendment.
Okay. All in favor?
You have to do it in order.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, things have changed.
Yeah, no, that was Trustee Andrade Zuniga. You're on mute. Looked like you said yes, but I couldn't tell.
Yes, yes.
Trustee Land,
Yes.
Trustee Lees Dwyer,
Yes.
Trustee Hanley,
Yes.
Trustee Griffin, I'll vote yes. And on, hold on the grand jury responses, and I got to get to that. What is page 2? I wanted to talk about the responses, particularly on ransomware, and I'm really concerned that, you know, that with the hacking that has come to light of the entire federal government, you know, it sounds like the entire federal government and every agency and all the information that, you know, grand juries take and they write these reports, and we make pro forma responses. And, you know, and our favorite thing is we didn't do it, so we don't know that we can't attest to it or not attest to it. I want to make sure, and I see we have Simon Bettis here. I want to make sure that we just are very diligent in our data security, and anytime we turn anything over or anybody we entrust with our data, that we're just all over them, making sure that they're doing the best they can to handle that. Because I think it's a national security risk with the hacking, and I think it's just not acceptable. And I don't know if you know, it was just to see that. I don't know if you have a comment, or, you know, we say we agree, you know, and does the superintendent have a comment? Or
I'm going to give this item to Mr. Bettis to respond.
Yes, hi, good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Skelly. Absolutely, data privacy is our main, prioritized concern. We've began to number one about this time last year before, you know, our county schools, even our county offices were hit with the malware, ransomware that really cripples them. We were even before that happened, we were actually anticipate or, you know, preparing if you know, worst case scenario if something like that were to happen to us. So fortunately, if you recall, you know, you all had agreed to you know, to allow, you know, the department to upgrade our infrastructure system with servers, backup solutions, not just a backup, but we do have several means of, you know, to back up our servers, and not just in one particular location, but as well as to remote site as well within the district. So we do have redundancy backups in place, and then we have tested the restoration of those data in case, you know, God forbid something were to happen to this data. And in terms of data, when we share our data with vendors, we are a member of SDPC, which is Student Data Privacy of California, that we ensure that each of those vendors comply with the security measure as to not share our data for other means other than educational purposes. For password resets and those sort of things, you know, we are, that is the number one concern that we have, is that people may not update their password as often or as regularly as possible. And we are enforcing a much stricter 6 months policy, you know, once every, at least twice a year, that they will reset their password. And pretty soon here, we will be applying to our students themselves will be forced to change their password at least twice a year. At this time, they do have the ability to change their passwords on their own if needed.
Okay, Trustee Land, did you have a comment?
I'm going to make it really quick, but I'm glad you took this off to just mention this, because this is the crisis of our country right now, cybersecurity on so many different levels. And if we don't take it seriously, we're not going to be able to address it. So Simon, I'm glad you mentioned some of the things that we need to do, but I think there's so much more to worry about. And I know recently the county had some issues, and I did wish Hector were still here to remind him. But I do see Chelsea Bonini's on here. So just a reminder to, I thought you were going to have this problem, but I am with the dog. So sorry about that. But it's something that had a problem with the county, and I think we need to be careful of that. That's all.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Oh, Trustees, please. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Yeah, I just had a question before.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of phishing, I know a lot of us use Canvas. A lot of the students use Canvas. Does that leak into Canvas at all? And then how do we, with the phishing, like how do we inform everybody in our district on how to and not to answer those emails? It's happened for quite some time with a lot of people in different places that I serve. So I'm just, it concerns me because it sounds so legit, but it's dangerous.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You know, we have hundreds of ransomware or a phishing attempt that passed through our firewall email system daily. And, you know, we block many of those. However, you know, one or two do get through. You know, they want you to click, you know, they would simulate a principal, you know, for instance. What we've done is, you know, we sent out, you know, notices to our staff regarding, you know, just a friendly reminder, just to let them know, you know, of the safety measure that they need to watch out for. We remind them that a principal probably will not be emailing you from the Philippines asking you for money in the middle of the night and things like that. And you're right, they're getting so much better at mimicking an actual, you know, a letterhead of the district or anybody. We just have to be diligent, and we just need to be aware. It can be stopped. There will be a few of us that will click on that link. However, like I said, we do have a system in place there that if you do click on a link, you know, there will be systems in place that will actually not allow, you know, the end user to send out, you know, sensitive information outside. With that said, it's not a guarantee that data will not be leaked, because it happens. You know, the NSA, the official national government got hit, Citibank and things like that. But you know, we are doing our best, and we will. It's just unfortunate that will be about half a step behind always. You know, the bad guys seem like they're always, you know, get a half a step in front of us, but we are keeping a daily touch on you know, on websites, and then tips, and you know, from security vendors that will notify us of any issues or hot topics that's a threat to not just the district, but you know, every corporation that's out there.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the responses. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote? I see you trying to get your equipment there. There
Yes,
you go.
I vote yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this unmute button.
That's okay.
It's so tough.
That's okay. Trustee Land.
Yes.
Trustee Lees Dwyer.
Yes.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes also. So that passes 5-0. We're going to move on, and L1, report of the superintendent.
Thank you very much. President Griffin. I really enjoyed doing that swearing in. That was really nice, and I appreciate the families who came. That was sort of a reminder, Mr. Hanley, to some of the comments that you gave about democracy and in action, and then some of the threats to it. So I appreciate that. One of the things that at the last board meeting, we've had a whole bunch of meetings about the restart of school in the second semester. Staff was asked to come back in my report and talk about what kind of calendar and what kind of schedule we'd have for the second semester. After a lot of discussion, most of it led by Dr. Kempke's department, we are going to stay almost strictly to the same schedule that we had this past semester. There were a lot of good ideas put forth, and we debated, we went over those, but we are going to stay with Wednesday as the day where all the classes meet. We also discussed, as you know, from the student board members, the question of synchronous or asynchronous days. At this point, we need to have some discussions with the union, but our thought right now is to have the first asynchronous day on February 3rd. That would be in line with that would be the first time we're sort of getting into that time where we have several weeks in a row where there are Wednesdays. Despite the pandemic, we are having music concerts and plays and the like. They're wonderful. I'm looking forward to the Hillsdale performance tomorrow night. We tomorrow will complete the first semester of the school year. That is remarkable. I think if you were to think about where we were back in August, September when we started, and notwithstanding the comments about learning loss so far this year, but the amount of hard work put in by all segments of our community has just been extraordinary. And I am just really, really proud to have worked with in a district that has done so much good work in such a difficult environment. And I think the culture here is just about as positive for the kinds of challenges that we have here. Trustee Andrade Zuniga and I have been having regular Tuesday morning meetings where staff members have tried to bring her up to speed. It's like drinking from a fire hose. There's so much to learn, but as other people have mentioned, she's been studying the district for quite a while, and she's a great study. So I think we're going to do just fine. And then the last part of my comments have to do with Ms. McManus. Yesterday we celebrated her with the principals and the administrators in the district, and then today we had another celebration with representatives from her departments, and board members were there and gave wonderful talks there. But it was really a wonderful time. And Liz, you didn't want to do any of it, but you were a great sport. And I think it was just a beautiful send-off. And, it would have been like a lot of things these days, it would have been better in person. But the fact that it went so well in the virtual world was really, really nice. When you are back and it's safe to come back, we have a plaque honoring your 15 years of service to the district that we hope that you will keep close to other things that remind you of the district. And then, although you won't be Chief Business Officer when Peninsula officially opens, we did get you a sweatshirt here with your name on the back. You have not been friends with our construction company, but you've certainly ridden herd on them, and with all the delays and everything else, you should really take satisfaction in the completion of that, as with this district office and with so many other parts of this district. What a time to be in here, and we've had the right person at the right time in the right place these past 15 years. So thank you for your service. That concludes my comments. It's also fitting that we have the next item on the agenda here, was in Mrs. McManus's last item, which is purchase and sale agreement, joint escrow. I'd like to make a few comments about that item. Mr. Griffin, if you'll let me just keep talking here.
Please.
So this is item M1. This project is, when I started in the district, we were looking at, do we build a new district office? What do we do about Peninsula? And then how can we address the housing challenges that we've had? We have built a new district office. It is one of the finest district offices that you will find, that serves our students and staff and community really, really well. The board made a decision to purchase land on Hinckley, and that project is winding up and will be a fantastic facility. And then tonight we are proposing that we enter into agreement with D.R. Horton to sell this property. I'm going to introduce Mr. Harold Freeman here in a second, who will describe Harold Freeman, who has been our legal counsel from Lozano Smith, and then Landis Graydon from DCG Strategies. They've helped us through this. This item will probably be fairly short and anticlimactic, but it represents a tremendous amount of work on the part of the board, on the part of the two gentlemen here, staff members, Ms. Chalkley, Ms. McManus, who have put a lot of time into this. And so with that, I'm going to turn this item back. We're really excited about this. The item describes in great detail all the legal requirements that are attached. Mr. Freeman can describe some of those items as well. But we're really pleased to bring this item to you and ask for your approval tonight. So maybe Mr. Freeman and Mr. Graydon, if you'd like to make any comments, and then I think you have a couple of people to introduce from D.R. Horton here tonight. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Landis, if I can lead off, you're more than welcome to jump in, and I won't belabor this for too long. The agenda pointed out some of the background of how we got here. There are very specific requirements under the Education Code when you go about surplusing a piece of property and selling it, and the district has gone through all of those steps and all of those hurdles. One of the ones that I wanted to point out to get us here tonight is that the board was able to get a waiver from the state of California, which allowed the board to move forward with this proposed sale without having to literally go with the high bidder. And the reason that that's so significant is it allowed the district to really think about which developer of this property, which buyer is the one that would be of greatest benefit, not just to the district, but the community. Who could see a project through that is going to benefit everyone, really. And so that was a significant part of this process as the district considered the different offers that were made. We're here tonight with D.R. Horton as the proposed buyer. We've worked with them, Landis and I, for some time now, negotiating the terms of the agreement with input from the district. And again, the basic terms of it are laid out in the document that you have in the agenda. And so I won't belabor those points too much. I did want to note that it's been a very collaborative, very cooperative process with D.R. Horton, its legal counsel. We were able to put this agreement together with them in a relatively quick time as these things go. We do a lot of this type of work, and rarely does it go as smoothly and rapidly as possible. And the end result, of course, of all of this is the opportunity to move from a situation where you have a piece of property that you're expending resources on and instead turn it into something that will generate resources for the district. So it's just a sort of brief word on how we got here. And Landis, I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to add to that.
Sure, I just wanted to add that, you know, Harold and I work on other districts, and we work with a lot of school districts throughout the state. And I can tell you, just by far, this district, between Kevin, Liz, and Laura, the staff and the board, has been one of the most amazing, sophisticated, professional experiences in many years. And from the very beginning of this process, you've all been very engaged and very community focused. And I think going through this, that really stood out because every step of the way, you were really concerned about, how is this going to impact the community? How's this going to impact our workforce? And how do we partner with the city government? And then how do we find the right buyer that's a great partner? And I can just tell you, there's a lot of behind the scenes work, and Kevin, Liz, and Laura have just done exemplary and extremely focused on the outcomes. And as the board, the facilities committee, the board meetings, they've all been very engaged. And so, I know Harold focused on some of the technical aspects of the deal, but I just wanted to compliment you as a district. The community has no idea just how fortunate they are to have you as leaders. You have been really good partners in this. And I think we went through a very good interview process, public process. And I think that you made decisions that were clear-eyed, thoughtful. You looked at the facts, you looked at the community impact. And I can honestly say this has just been a pleasure to work with you. And we still have a ways to go, but I just want to acknowledge that you all have really done an outstanding job getting to this point.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Griffin, do we want to hear from the representatives from D.R. Horton, or would you like to have the board make some comments, or what's your pleasure?
Is there any public comment before we ask the D.R. Horton people to speak? Trustee Land, you have a question?
Not a question, but a comment. It's really nice to hear Landis and Harold talk like this, but they are amazing as well. This has been a great partnership, and it's very obvious. I also want to compliment our recipient, the D.R. Horton. When they were in the interviews and we were in the interview process, it was very impressive to see how they answered the question so adeptly. And I just like Landis said, I think we are picking a good organization that really has the community and the city in their hearts, and making sure it's going to be a successful transition or sale.
Okay, well, I meant to ask for clarifying questions and not board comments and questions.
Sorry.
So because I think what happens, and we'll get carried away, but we can be more carried away once we hear from our new buddies, our best buddies here. So who is here from D.R. Horton?
Should we vote first?
So I see Vince McCary.
Yes, hello.
I'm sorry, we have Vince McCary. We have Chris Zabalos. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. And we have Michael Mandel from D.R. Horton. And we do not have any public requests for public comment on this item.
Okay. Welcome, gentlemen. Do you wish to comment?
Yeah, I'd just like to speak on behalf of the group. We're very, very appreciative of the process to date. I'll echo Landis's comments. What an excellent process from start to finish so far. The representation by Mr. Fryman and all of our interactions today have been very clear and reasoned and balanced, and it's allowed for us to date to move really swiftly through the process. And we're just appreciative of it. We have a long way to go, as Landis mentioned. There's the city part now begins. We're very optimistic about it, very excited about what we envision to be the outcome of this whole process. And so we're just appreciative that we've been selected and excited about where we're going.
Well, thank you. Board comments now. Trustees Lees Dwyer.
I just want to echo what has already been said. I sat on the property committee and participated in the interviews, and I was the person who was hesitant about selling the property in the first place. And I came out of it believing that we were absolutely doing the right thing with the right people. I felt we were very well represented, and I thought that Horton stood out. And I am very comfortable with this transaction and going forward as a whole team, with them taking this on and moving our property to good use. So thank you.
Trustee Andrade Zarate, or Trustee Hanley, either of you wish to comment? Trustee Hanley?
Yeah, I would just say that as the person who was very comfortable selling the property and has thought this was the right way to go for a number of years. I'm very pleased to see that we're at this point right now. And I think, this is going to move us forward in a number of ways in the district. We still have a ways to go, and it's certainly been a journey. It's been a number of years to get us to this point tonight, but I am glad that we are here.
Okay, well, I certainly, in all the years I've been around here, never thought we'd get this far. And I am glad to see this day come. I know we're not through the process yet. And I think while we were doing this, I think we've considered and been very considerate of the constituencies, the competing interest. It's been a difficult journey. It took a lot of resolve on a lot of people's part, and I want to thank everybody. And I think we had a really good team. Miss McManus, I think she's picked the high point of her career here to exit stage left there. So we appreciate your effort. And I think your team has been, DCG. I remember the interviews, and Harold, you've been around, you've served us well over the years. And I think it's a good deal. And we just have to finish it at this point. So thank you for your comments. Are we ready for a motion?
I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I heard Trustee Hanley over Trustee Land, but we'll get you next time. Everybody went, oh yeah, we're selling something, we're making money. So Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
I will abstain since I haven't been here since I'm new.
Trustee Land.
Yes.
Trustee Lee Dwyer.
Yes.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
Trustee Griffin, I'll vote yes. So we have 4 ayes and 1 abstention. So the motion passes.
And I just for the record, Mr. Fryman, you're our legal counsel here. We had 4 positive votes to sell the property. Is that enough legally to do that? I'm not sure you can do a 3-2, but I'm pretty sure a 4 an abstention works.
Yeah, just to clarify, you actually only need a simple majority to enter into the contract. You had a super majority previously to adopt the resolution of intent that kicked this off. And so you've met both requirements.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to M2, to approve the project list, the project schedule list. Ms. McManus.
Okay, tonight we're bringing Measure L construction project list to the board for approval, along with a revised financing, a schedule, and asking the board to allow us to move forward. And I have the team here. That includes Chet Wang, Tony Shea, Linda Carlton, Brad Barncourt, who have been part of the committee, and Chet Wang, I think I said Chet Wang, and John Delana. We have actually spent a lot of time vetting through the list, meeting with principals, meeting with sites, trying to figure out what was really essential along the way. And because we've done this over a 2-year period. Laura, can you please load my presentation?
Yeah, we've got it over here. Here
Perfect. Or I'll just say next. So basically what the team is, and I'm going to introduce the team, then we're going to, talk about where we've been with the Measure L capital projects program. We are going to bring forth our final project list. We're looking at the budget components, the criteria for evaluating what projects, we're bringing forward. We have the recommendation. We have the recommended list by school, project schedule, and the general obligation issuance schedule and questions, and then we're going to ask for a recommendation. Next slide, please. So again, this has involved a lot of people: Linda Carlton, Brad Barncourt, Todd Lee, David Kaznoka, Sean Absher, Bruce Kearns, and Tony Shea. Along the way, we have vetted the information, reviewed it, revised it, and come back. And this was a really, really good, high-performing team with, good think tank type, activities. Next slide, please. So originally the board had looked into pursuing a bond in 2018. And at the time when we were pursuing it, we looked at 7 categories that included, the academic needs for the schools, sustainability projects, student and staff safety, imminent maintenance needs, technology, equity. And what we feathered in early this fall was COVID. What's here with COVID to stay, and where do we need to take our facilities to the next level? And so we have feathered that in. Next slide, please. So originally 2 years ago, we put together a potential project list. We met with all the school administrative teams to, find out what their needs were, what was going to be needed to be replaced, what works, what doesn't work. At the time, then we talked with the district financial advisor and bond underwriter to kind of look at how we could issue the debt at different size levels, so that if we went small, medium, or large, how would that impact the taxpayers of our community? We originally had postponed, we originally wanted to place the bond on the November 2018 ballot, but at that time there were other school districts that were going for bonds, and we did not want to risk that they would not pass, because our feeder districts was really critical that their bond measures were successful. So we, kind of held back a year. We waited, then we started looking at it. I want to say it was, the last spring, and we looked at revised issuance schedules with all what's going on with the, interest rates and our AV growth. And we've brought, the revised project list back to the board for consideration. And in November 15th, the board approved placing a $385 million bond on the March 2020 ballot. Next slide, please. And in February 2020, before the election, we again went back to the admin teams and asked them to review the project list, because, things happen in life. We want to make sure that we have the freshest information and something that arose that we could capture it. The election was held on March 3rd, and it was successful. And we were really, really fortunate, because the bond team had worked really hard for this, and the sites really were looking forward to improving this and really helping students. Next slide, please. So, you kind of think, oh, great, you've passed the bond, now we're just the work gets done, but that's just when the work does begin. So after that, we brought together, we started issuing requests for qualifications and proposals for all types of services. And so we, advertised them, we set up interviews, we conducted the interviews, we evaluated and, selected the best qualified consultants. And we've brought them in the last 6 months to the board for approval. And that included services for construction manager. Oh my God, there's a typo. Legal services, architects, soil engineers, CEQA consultants, hazardous material consultants, inspector of record consultants, and testing and special inspection consulting. The team will be bringing back a landscape for a landscape architect and maybe a small project architect. Next slide, please. 3 projects totaling $56 million have been approved by the board. They were fast-tracked. They were based on safety and parity. and sustainability, and that included the Cappuccino High School Athletic Complex, the Mills High School Athletic Complex, the camera surveillance camera systems that were installed at every site. And again, we met with the site administrator teams and requested that they revise the project list that we thought was pretty firm, but COVID had a way of changing things a little bit, and we just wanted to make sure that it incorporated life that now that we have a different view. Next slide, please. So originally the budget is 385 million. We have contingencies and overhead. We include a 10% design contingency, a 10% hard cost contingency, a topside contingency, and administrative cost. And usually the contingencies are not utilized, but we are also, any money that is in this area that hasn't been utilized during the project, we will be applying it to refreshing all the classrooms in the district, and we'll, it's on the project list. Again, we talked about the approved projects are $56 million. So we really have an available project budget of $260 million. Next slide, please. Again, these are the approved projects. Next slide. And so the original project that everybody discussed included replacing the fixed blade dampeners and variable dampeners to improve efficiency and air quality. And that was at Aragon High School, to construct STEM academies, to construct wellness centers, to construct maker spaces, to construct student unions. There was a request for a new stadium field bleachers to replace the outdated gyms, locker rooms, weight rooms, restroom rooms at 2 of our schools, to install ionization systems to improve air filtration. That was one of our COVID projects that was added, after the pandemic. Replace the stadium lights with Musco LED lights at Burlingame High School, install outdoor LED lights to improve path of travel at night throughout the entire district, construct new music room to address acoustical flaws at Burlingame High School, convert existing music room to a science classroom at Burlingame High School, reconfigure the admin building at Cappuccino, construct an indoor cafeteria for students at Aragon High School, because as you know, they don't have a cafeteria at this point. Replace existing turf baseball field and softball field with artificial turf and light at at Aragon High School. Replace outdated public address systems, including speakers and paging at 5 of the high schools. 1 of the high schools already has it, so it already has been addressed. Addressing and resolving our transite panel issue at 3 of the metal schools. Next slide, please. Replace, finish, upgrade technology, new flooring, LED lights, paint, wall coverings, window treatments, AV monitor, and furniture for all the classrooms that were pretty much done under Major D that are now 20 years old. Install fiber optic cabling to improve the bandwidth for future ready technology. Install USB ports and fast charging stations for mobile devices. Replace outdated air handling units in the gyms to improve air quality. Replace the failing roofs at San Mateo High School. Install a state-of-the-art locking system. Modernize culinary classroom at San Mateo High School. Convert computer classrooms to science classrooms. Replace outdated boilers in the A wing. Upgrade the entrance to the stadium field at Burlingame High School. Construct and convert additional gender-neutral bathrooms. Install automated locking system at selected doors to improve security. Replace the fire alarms no longer supported by the manufacturer with standardized systems, including voice evacuation. And This is not only important for safety, I just giving you a bird walk. But what happens now is I think we have 7 different varieties installed across the district, and none of them talk to each other. So it's not that uncommon for a fire alarm to go off and disrupt the educational programs. And, that's just a lot of wasted time for our students and and very frustrating for our education, our teachers. And this resolves that problem. Repurpose green classroom at Hillsdale with a state-of-the-art flexible classroom, repurpose dedicated computer lab into general classrooms, modernize library spaces, incorporating technology and meeting spaces. All of our libraries were done 20 years ago, and it was assumed that you would have all the books in the stacks. Now there's a new trend going on, and there's a lot of different ways these library spaces can be used that really help students for more collaboration, learning. Next one is to pave the fire loop. Next page, please. Oh, on both pages. Replace the aging boilers with high efficiency systems. Install new HVAC systems in classrooms that do not have air conditioning to improve air quality. This is at Burlingame High School. This is an essential project. Modernize the connector wings at Hillsdale High School. Replace outdated air conditioning chillers at San Mateo High School to improve efficiency and air quality. Provide outdoor teaching spaces and fencing for security at Hillsdale High School. Replace failing HVAC systems at the ceramic building at Mills High School. Replace existing press box with one that provides roof access for filming at San Mateo High School. Replace technology in classrooms with dual 80-inch monitors at Hillsdale High School. Replace aging pool plasters. Improve acoustical sound transmission to the cafeteria at Hillsdale High School, allowing it to be used as a classroom space or a meeting space, because right now there's a problem, with the sound in the cafeteria, and there's so many ways that facility can be utilized. Provide LED lights for all the swimming pools so that they're safe and they can be used at night for not only practice but games. And put an AV system in the cafeteria at San Mateo High School so that that space has more flexible uses and can be used for meetings. Next slide, please. 51 projects. The project's cost for all of those in 2020 dollars was close to $595 million. If we waited and did not do the projects until 2028, which is when we will issue our last series of debt for Major L, the project list would be $812 million. And so that the difference is the inflation that's anticipated to occur between the two time periods. There's what impacts the inflation factors. You have labor escalation. Sometimes we have material escalations, like, a couple of years ago, we saw horrendous increases in steel prices. And then every year, whether you like it or not, for safety reasons, the building codes are changed. And to give you an example, when we originally looked at the transite panel, when we were doing Measure M, I think it was like a $15 to $20 million project. Now it's $75 million because of the changes that have been made to the building code, during the last 20 years. Next slide, please. So now, if you look at the project list and you allocate them over the next, 8 years or 7 years, the escalation will be around $90 million. And when we were looking at this, we also realized that we've issued debt, we've refinanced a couple of our bonds in the last couple of years, and actually a couple of them may be in the position to be refinanced moving forward in the next couple of months because interest rates are at the lowest level they've ever been. So money borrowed in the next 2 years is anticipated to remain at low levels, and therefore it'll cost the taxpayers less money doing so. In the meantime, construction escalation is anticipated the next 2 years to be 0. And then they're gonna, as the economy recovers and everything moves forward, we will probably see escalation in labor and also supplies. Next slide, please. We met with Aragon and we asked everybody to go back and talk about what was on their priority list. What are the things that they really want to see? Aragon came up with this project list, and I'm going to just go through these. So this is Aragon's. Next slide, please. Burlingame's. Next slide. CAP. Next slide. Hillsdale. Next slide. Mills. Next slide. And San Mateo. And move, next slide, please. So the committee went back and we looked at everything and we put together what we're bringing forth for the board to consider this evening. And that includes replacing the fixed blade dampeners with variable dampeners to improve the efficiency and air quality at Aragon High School. That's really critical at Aragon. Replace the outdated public address systems, including speakers and page unit for the sites. Install the ionization system to improve air filtration. We just feel this may be a project that falls to the side, but right now, anything that we can do to sanitize and minimize germs in our classrooms, I think is a prudent thing to do. Replace finish upgrades, technology, new flooring, LED lights, paint, wall coverings, monitors and furniture in all the classrooms. Installing the fiber optic cabling in all the schools, install more USB ports and fast charging station in all the schools. Install a state-of-the-art locking system, install automated locking systems at selected doors throughout the entire district. Replace the fire alarms so that they're all on this, they have the ability to, communicate with each other and actually upgrade the system, provide LED lights for swimming pools, for practice and games, replace the plaster for 4 of the schools, modernize the library spaces, incorporating technology and meeting spaces at Hillsdale and Aragon. Next slide, please. Replace the existing turf baseball field and softball field with along with lights at Aragon High School. Do the transite panel, address transite panels at all the schools that have it, which are Aragon, Hillsdale, and Mills. Replace the aging boilers with high efficiency systems at Aragon and Burlingame High School. Replace the outdated small gym and large gym with new gyms, new locker rooms, new weight rooms, new wrestling room, new team room. Construct a new music room because the existing music room at Burlingame High School has acoustical flaws that, while we've mitigated them to some extent, the room just was not designed right under Measure D and needs to be addressed. Convert the existing music room at Burlingame High School into a science room because the music room was actually part of the science wing. So it just kind of makes logical sense to put it back into a science classroom, and actually they need them. Install new HVAC systems at Burlingame in the wing that does not have air conditioning to improve the air quality. Cappuccino, reconfigure the admin building. Again, we're going to do the transite panel We're going to, at Hillsdale, repurpose the green classroom to a flexible classroom. Next slide, please. Modernize the connector wings at Hillsdale, and also provide outdoor teaching spaces and a security fence through the campus. Replace technology in classrooms with dual 80-inch monitors, improve acoustical and sound transmission in the cafeteria. This can, again, provide a more flexible space for multiple uses. Talked about the Transite panel previously. San Mateo High School replaces second gym with a state-of-the-art gym with classrooms, weight rooms, locker rooms, team rooms. San Mateo High School is in a very unique situation where we have a joint use agreement with the city of San Mateo and the big gym. It makes it really tough on the students at San Mateo because a lot of times they don't have access to facilities, and the locker rooms are, not really convenient to the educational program. They're not located close to the stadium fields. And so this would provide a whole improved, not only physical education program, but also for the athletic programs that would really improve that at San Mateo High School. In addition, replace the outdated boilers and also the failing roofs. Also replace the air conditioning chillers, and provide a new AV system at the cafeteria at San Mateo High School. Next slide, please. The criteria that we used to figure out when we were going to schedule these projects was basically safety issues, program needs, maintenance needs, and then lastly, what some of the projects were more subject to greater escalation. Next slide. So these are the list of what we would do at this point by year. In 2021, it will take us a long time to go through DSA. So we looked at what we could, give to an architect, have them give us construction drawings, submit them to DSA and get them approved. And this was basically the list that we felt that could be accomplished in 2021. Going into 2022, you're seeing more of the projects being able to be completed. And those are the projects we just talked about. Next slide, please. In 2023, we're talking about the boilers at school sites, upgrading the path of travel, the new gym at Burlingame High School, the turf fields at Aragon, the new gym at San Mateo, convert the computer classroom to science at Burlingame, redesign the connector wings, and also the outdoor teaching spaces. And, it takes usually a good, maybe at least 8 months to a year for an architect to design significant projects. And then with DSA, it can take up to a year for them to go through your drawings, just depending on what's going on in the state. And so sometimes you think, well, why is this going to take so long? There's just a lot of requirements to put these construction drawings together and then wait for the state to go through and audit them. Next slide, please. Then here's a list for 2024, 25, 26, 27, and 28. And the money that is right now in contingency that is not utilized, then we would be using to refresh the classrooms with new finishes, furniture, technology, moving forward into 2028. Next slide, please. And with this, I'm going to introduce Tony Shea. He is our financial advisor, and he will talk about a revised issuance schedule. Take it away, Tony.
Great. Thank you, Liz. And good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me back. So I think before we get into the meat of the presentation, I just wanted to just reintroduce Measure L to you in case you had forgotten some of the particulars. But as you know, it's a $385 million bond that the district passed in March 3rd of 2020, 57.5% approval rating, a $15.55 per 100,000 of assessed value tax rate approved with this measure. On June 10th, 2020, the district did issue the Series A bonds from Measure L. That was in the amount of $96.25 million. And what we did here is the board and administration had recommended that we not take the tax rate up to the 1555 tax rate immediately, but recognizing the COVID-19 impact on the economy and the financial hardships resulting from this, the district decided to take the tax rate up gradually. And you can see the targeted tax rates down in the last 3 arrow bullet points there. 749 for year 1, 1152 for year 2, and then in year 3, the 1555 tax rate. Next page, please. A little bit about interest rates before we get into things. This is the 2 graphs here that are showing the bond buyer GO bond index. Basically, this is a national index that tracks GO bond interest rates. It comes out weekly. On the left-hand side of the page, you can see this graph going back to 1962. So generally, you can see interest rates are very low. The graph on the right is a snapshot of the last 12 months of this same index. So you can see rates have bounced around a lot, probably hitting their low point in August. And they've come back somewhat higher since then, but they still remain quite low right now. Next slide, please. Slide 30 here, this is the district's assessed value. So this is the tax base, and this is a history of how it has grown since 1980. So you can see here, it's a very resilient tax base. If you look at the bottom left graph, you can see it's grown tremendously since 1980. Looking at the right-hand side chart, you can see there's been only 1 year of decline in the district's assessed value, and that was in 2011, where it declined 2.89%. And that was just kind of a lagging result from the financial crisis in 2008. Right now, your most recent growth number is 6.21% for the 2021 fiscal year. And right now, the county assessed value tracker is showing a potential 3.85% growth for the next upcoming number that will come up next calendar year. Next page. So on page 31 here, this is the original Measure L plan. What we've inserted here is the actual result from the Series A bonds having already been issued. So let me just take you really quickly through the assumptions that were put in place here for the assessed value growth as well as the interest rates. So you can see assessed value growth, we were assuming 3% for 21-22, then 0%, and then 3 and 4.5 thereafter. Interest rate assumptions, Series A actually came in at a very low rate, 2.31%. And then for Series B, C, and D, we're going back to the original assumption. And these are admittedly very high interest rate assumptions, but we need to build these in case things start trending upward as far as interest rates go. And interest rates are really going to be dictated by, right now they're being dictated by vaccine, whether it's effective, and also the stimulus that's being talked about back and forth. If you look at the illustrative issuance schedule on the upper right, you can see the original plan was to issue bonds in 2020, 2023, 2026, and finally in 2028. And the bottom right-hand side, you can see the graph showing the total tax rate, and you can see we've separated the tax rate and it's color-coded so you can see the tax rate that's represented by each series of bonds. And when you layer them all on top of one another, it comes to a 1555 tax rate, except for the first 2 years where we intentionally did not go that high. Any questions on this before I go to the next slide? Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Back one. Sorry. Okay, thank you. So what we did when we started talking about all these things again was because of COVID still being around and things getting worse, and we're seeing some big companies leave California, which haven't directly impacted the San Mateo High School District yet, but we need to be prepared in case they do, is we shocked the assessed value assumption. So you can see we've in the red font on the left-hand side, we've taken the assessed value down to 0, and then actually a decline in 22, 23, and then gradually going back up to the 4.5%. If we keep all the other assumptions on interest rate the same, you can see the effect of this. It pushes our final Series D back to 2030. And as Liz already mentioned, you already have some construction escalation if you can issue the last series of bonds in 2028. So if we experience this and we have to do our final series in 2030, that would potentially be that much more in escalation. Next page, please. So holding the assessed value assumption the same in the same lower assumption, we said, okay, there are actually projects that the district could do if we issued some bonds coming in 2021. And as you know, we already talked about the lower interest rate environment from right now. So if we were to consider a Series B issuance in early next year, we're estimating right now that a Series B issuance could achieve an interest rate of about 2.66%. And that's using current interest rates. The effect of that is actually quite dramatic. You can see if we hold everything else the same, the interest rates are still at 6 and 6.5% for Series C and D. We could potentially issue Series C and D in 2024 and 2027. So you can see by saving that large spread of interest rate between the Series B assumption and the Series B actual rate today, you could potentially speed up the entire issuance schedule for Measure L and thereby maybe suffer less construction escalation. Any questions?
Does the board have any questions? Would you take the, it's sort of hard to see the gallery.
Why do you think the AV would go down in 22, 23? What makes you think that would happen?
That's a great question. I actually do not have any proof that will happen. It's just we wanted to be more conservative because we're sort of unsure where assessed value is going to go. We're thinking back to 2008 when the airlines readjusted their assessed values because no one was flying. That condition kind of exists today, although there are some flights. So will the airlines do that? That would impact the high school district. We saw Oracle leave, which of course they're in Redwood City, so that doesn't impact you, but you do have other large companies within your district boundaries that we just wanted to be prepared for something like that and to build in some kind of conservative measure so that if it does happen, we're not caught off guard. The one thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I mean, Peter, there's nothing bad by having a conservative model at this point. There's just a lot of uncertainty at this point. And it's better to do that than say we're going to continue on at this stealth growth of 8% when our 20-year average is like 5.5. And so we felt like good things will come if we are conservative versus if we're a little more aggressive and it doesn't materialize, then we have bigger problems, or you'll have bigger problems.
Yeah, I think the good thing is because we look at this constantly, that if one year comes in better than what we had conservatively assumed, then we can make adjustments to the next series. Maybe we can bring it quicker, fill in the tax rate gap that was created by the actual assessed value exceeding our assumption. So there's a lot of room for increasing and speeding up the issuance schedule. But on the flip side, if you issue too quickly with too aggressive of an assumption, you run the risk of exceeding the tax rate and also potentially being stuck with your bond program because you don't have the capacity to issue the next series. So we just want to be as careful as possible so that we can avoid a situation like that.
Peter, are you feeling comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with being conservative. That seems extremely pessimistic to me. I mean, I'm fine to be with being conservative. That just seems a far out to me, but okay.
Any other questions? I've got a couple, Liz. And actually, you know, on that particular point on the negative, you know, Tony, you mentioned like the Oracle thing not impacting us, but when all these companies come countywide for reassessments, we get to participate in everybody's misery on a pro rata basis. So, I mean, that is to me some cause for concern that, and I guess they say they're not really leaving the area, but I'm sure they're going to figure some, you know, all the large companies in the county are going to be coming back. These campuses in their minds are going to be worth less, and they're going to be looking for tax cuts. But the question, Liz, has to do with the COVID-19 that got feathered in. Was the bond counsel involved in that? And we know for sure that everything that can be construed as COVID-19 is absolutely going to be a legal expenditure.
Yes. Yeah, because, you know, the projects which are really the COVID-19 have to do with the HVAC systems. And so they're just a component, you know, and so they really weren't impacted. And also you know, like the dampeners at Aragon, that was actually always going to be looked at. We also had always been looking at the air conditioning at Burlingame High School, specifically for I think it's 6 classrooms that have been impacted. And so, you know, they are compliant with the bond. They can be, they can be approved based on that.
Okay, and then the other question had to do with our 10% content, top side and what, 10% construction, 10% design, 5% top side. I'm doing this because I don't see the slide, so I'm having to use my brain on this. Historically, has that served us well, those percentages?
That you know, if you remember back to Measure D, they didn't have any contingencies and they didn't have budget set aside for each individual project. And so as you know, they got into the ground, as they started doing modernizations, they came against a lot of unknowns. They kept, you know, clawing out of the next project for money, and then they kept running out of money. And then the district ended up with, you know, the 4 COPs totaling $80 million. And so in the perfect world, these will not materialize all, you know, I mean, some of the money may be used, like an example is with Peninsula High School when it all of a sudden is now in a floodplain and we had to spend $8 million for a different type of foundation. You know, it was those type of contingencies throughout the whole program that saved the bacon on that. But in general, money will come from the contingency to the bottom line. And then what better way to end it up than to refresh the classrooms at all the campuses? I think that everybody, you know, it's a great way to get to, you know, refresh, new furniture, new lights, you know, kind of give it a new look.
Okay, I don't know about the furniture, but the rest of the stuff sounded legal to me. So here's probably my last question. It's a Tony question. Okay, we got a new administration indeed. We've got a new sheriff in town. We've got an economy that needs a real jolt to keep going. What would happen if they came through with like a BABS type subsidy or some other sort of capital projects program for state and local governments? Or is that even likely? Is that so remote as to not even exist?
You know, we actually heard some rumblings about it earlier this year, but that never materialized. You know, I can say we haven't heard anything more about it, but we'll be ready to take advantage of it like we did back when 2008 happened. We issued a few series of BABs and qualified school construction bonds, and that was a big interest rate savings to the district. So we'll be ready to submit applications and show our need. But right now, we haven't heard much about in that vein of relief for bonds.
Well, you know, I think some of that may have to do with who controls the Senate, because I think that would be one of the potential indicators that you know, you got control, you got total control, then you can put your programs in. Other than that, we'll be at loggerheads. So
yeah.
I can't see if anybody else, and I kind of scroll up and down to see if there are any other questions. I haven't seen any hands. Any other questions? Whoever's controlling the presentation, why don't you take it down so we can see everybody? I don't want to deprive anybody of the opportunity to speak. So any questions? Okay, and apparently, is there a, and there was no public comment, correct? It's been so long ago. Yes, sir. Trustee Land.
I think Mr. Hanley had his hand up first. I'll go after him if you don't mind.
Okay. Trustee Hanley.
The only other question I had was, I'm assuming the Transite panel project is in 2022 because you don't think you can make it through DSA before 2022? Is that the reason?
That I would believe that that's a true statement because it's a pretty complicated project. You know, it's a very expensive project. It's going to do, you know, it's going to really improve, I have to say, Hillsdale tremendously. But the design will take a long time. It's a pretty complicated project, and then it will take a while for DSA to, you know, go through it. You know, you always think you're going to be out of DSA in 6 months, and it's a miracle if it is 6 months. You know, we've been in there on some of the projects 1.5 years. So we try to be realistic on when we thought we could, you know, put these projects on the calendar, on the schedule.
I mean, my concern is that it seems to be one that just escalates in cost, you know, before our eyes. And, you know, it seems like we should start working on it as soon as we can.
Well, we would start, you know, Linda and Brad and the team will be, you know, selecting the architects on who will be designing these projects, but they're going to need at least 1 year to design them. And so there's going to be, you know, the design fees will be up front. They're not that costly. It's really going to be the construction that costs a lot of money. So it's more of the time and the effort for the design and the division of the state architect to approve.
It doesn't seem like that complicated a design for those.
What they've done is they've made it very difficult to resolve because my understanding is they've changed the code for all the sustainability, and it's just going to be a lot more complicated.
Okay.
Additionally, we're showing a 0% escalation for 21 and 22 right now. So
Well, John, maybe you could talk in more detail. Sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
Sorry.
Those projects are slated for 2022, the transite panel encapsulation. And we're showing 0% escalation right now for that. So it's really not costing you more if you do it 21 or 22 at this point.
Okay.
I think Trustee Land was in the queue and then Trustee Lees Dwyer.
I'm just going to pass at this point. I think I'm just very impressed with all the work that's being done.
Okay, Trustees Lees Dwyer.
Yeah, I was very impressed also. It's very interesting to see the entire wish list and everything that we really like to accomplish, and then you whittle it down and down and down till you get to what really is the most needed and the most feasible. As to the transite panels, I mean, I served on the Citizens Oversight Committee a number of years and toured the site and looked at those panels. And this is totally off the wall, and John might have the answer for me. Rather than encapsulating it, has consideration been given to taking out the entire walls and just replacing them? I mean, is that I don't know if we're gonna. Do you know what I mean? Just
I know
remove
that
the
we've
whole
looked
thing,
at we've looked
chop
at
it up, put in something new.
there are a lot of you mean like not really. I mean, the only thing you would probably do is put a wall over a wall, but then it's still there. I'm not sure you want to.
I don't know. I mean, could you just remove the whole thing and put a new wall in?
We need to be careful not to get into too much structural.
Okay.
It'll make that cost escalate. That's one.
I was just curious because the encapsulating it, as Peter said, is just gotten more and more expensive. So maybe we could just blow it away and start over.
It's really doing anything with it. It's handling it is what's gotten more and more.
I understand. You have to wear a spacesuit and yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Can we get a motion to adopt this project list?
Can I make a motion to adopt the project list?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
I will abstain since I haven't been here.
Okay, Trustee Land?
Yes.
Trustees Lees Dwyer?
Yes.
Trustee Hanley?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so that's a four ayes and an abstention. So the motion should pass. Let's get on to, there's nothing in Division of Construction. Let's go to the O, Division of Human Resources.
Yes, we have the personnel actions. We have 4 recognitions tonight. 2 adult school teachers. One, Stephanie Funk, is resigning at the December 31st. She's been with the district for 14 years and 8 months in the active adults program. Carolyn Panu is retiring from the adult school ESL program December 11th after 31 years in the district. We also have 2 bus drivers that are retiring after long tenures in the district. Daryl Daly, retiring after 36 years and 3 months in the district on December 30th. And Joan Oliger is retiring on the same date after 30 years in the district.
Okay. Any questions and comments? Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote? Okay, she mimicked yes, so we'll let the record reflect that. Trustee Land?
Yes.
Trustees Lees Dwyer?
Yes.
Trustee Hanley?
Yes.
And I will vote yes, and so that's a 5-0 vote. Personnel actions pass. 02, approve the revised 2021 classified salary schedule.
The revised classified salary schedule reflects the classification process that the board approved at the last meeting. No, 2 meetings ago.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the salary schedule.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Land and a second by Trustee Lees Dwyer. Is there any discussion? Okay. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote? Okay, we in the affirmative. Trustees Land.
Yes.
Come on, we gotta. We can't. Come on. Trustees Linda Lees Dwyer.
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll vote yes, and so that's 5-0, so that motion passes. 03, approve the adjusted administrator's salary schedule.
Yes, this hasn't been adjusted in terms of salary figures. There's been no increase. The adjustment is adding a new level 9 for the associate superintendent. Previously, we had the associate superintendent level. We haven't had it for a few years now. Now with the new CBO, we've wanted to bring it back and add it into the manager salary schedule.
Okay. Is there discussion, any comments or questions? Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Okay, Trustee Hanley moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustees
Greg.
Lees Dwyer, second. We have a motion and a second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
Yes, I finally could unmute.
Thank you.
Just leave it unmuted.
Yeah, leave it unmuted.
Just leave it.
Yeah, leave it unmuted. We're cool with that.
Yeah, mine's open.
Yeah. Trustee Land.
Yes.
Trustees Linda Lees Dwyer.
Yes.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So it's 5-0. 04, the contract for the Associate Superintendent, Chief Business Officer, Dr. Black.
I believe Dr. Scully's going to introduce this one.
Right, so it gives me great pleasure to recommend Mr. Yancey Hawkins as the person who has to fill some very big shoes here as our new Chief Business Officer. Mr. Hawkins has is a graduate of UCLA. I guess that's okay here. And he's been a certified public accountant. He's worked in school districts in Marin, Santa Clara County, comes highly recommended through all of our contacts. Ms. McManus has met with him. He's visited our schools. He knows many of the folks that you just saw on the project here. When we talked about the building program, he's worked with Greystone. He's worked with Kegent and some of the other folks. I think he's well positioned to continue the legacy of strong fiscal responsibility here in the district. And I joked to the committee when they were doing the interviews that superintendents don't get in trouble when the math curriculum isn't up to snuff, but they do get in trouble when the money isn't handled well. We have responsibilities to two very precious things of the public, their children and their financial resources. I have confidence that Mr. Hawkins can do that work very well. So I think you're here. I haven't had a chance to look at you yet. There you are. So maybe you'd want to say a few words here to the group.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Skelly. I just wanted to thank the board and Dr. Skelly for this amazing opportunity. I'm incredibly honored to come and work for such an amazing organization. And I think that we've never been in a time where schools and teachers are so important to our community. And I'm just so excited and honored to be a part of this organization and to move it forward in this moment. Lastly, I just kind of want to recognize, as Dr. Skelly noted, that I do have some incredibly big shoes to follow. Liz McManus is a legend in our small CBO community. And I just hope to have half the accomplishments at San Mateo as she has over the last 15 years. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I will protect the faith that you put in me. And I'm here to support the students in the community here in San Mateo. So thank you.
So I have one comment. There's actually 3 CPAs here, although Dave is not showing. You know, you will be judged on 2 key factors. One of them is your ability to explain these finances and keep the books in proper order. The other is to present funny cartoons that takes our mind away from the financial responsibilities that we have. So remember that. Look at her previous presentations. If we don't get a good cartoon, it's going to be a bad night. I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, I'll meet with Liz, and we'll make sure that I get some of the subscriptions she's got, so that you'll be in good hands.
Welcome, Yancey. It's a pleasure to have you aboard. Trustees, Lee Dwyer.
I just want to say, Yancey, I raised a CPA. He did his initial years at PwC, and I love math. So I look forward to you working with the district.
Trustee Land.
I'm just going to say I'm not a CPA, but I am a Bruin. So welcome aboard from a fellow Bruin.
Okay, we won't hold that against either one of you. Any other comments? Okay, we're being asked to approve the contract. I'm going to, I guess at this point, I'm going to do my official readout. It's the Associate Superintendent Chief Business Officer contract for 2020-21 school year, prorated. The following are the compensation terms for the district's Associate Superintendent Chief Business Officer position. The administrator will receive health and welfare benefits up to $24,301, transportation and cell phone reimbursements of $275 per month, various subscriptions and memberships, and reimbursements for approved district expenses. Yancey Hawkins, Associate Superintendent Chief Business Officer, salary $82,920 and 87 work days. Okay, is there a motion to approve the contract?
Do you want to define the work days so that's in the record? It's March 1st through June 30th.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you not have that? Okay.
Is it in the contract?
It's in the contract that was published online. I assume that's the contract you were going to read into the record.
Well, yeah, they handed me the details. It did not include the actual dates, but we can include that in the record.
Yeah, it should be included to make it clear.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
I will abstain.
Trustee Land?
Yes.
Trustee Lees Dwyer?
Yes.
Trustee Hanley?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so that'll be 4 ayes and an abstention. And congratulations, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
So look forward to working with you.
Absolutely.
Okay. We're going to move on to our presentation, acceptance of independent auditors report.
Oh, great. Oh, perfect. Hi, David. Tonight, David Becker, who's a principal with Marta CPAs, and he's been our district auditor for several years, and more than several years. We'll be presenting the audit. I have to applaud the firm and also everybody involved in the audit this year, doing an audit. 2 audits through the COVID crisis has been very challenging. And so I want to say the staff from both the district and also the firm, the CPA firm, have done an amazing job being seamless, being timely, getting everything that they needed done. And tonight, David, I'm going to send it to you to present the audit.
Thank you, Liz. So what I'll do is I'll give you kind of a brief overview of what the audit entails, the results, and certainly answer any questions that you have. So there's 4 key components to the audit. So there's the audit of the financial statements themselves, making sure that they're fairly stated. As part of the audit process, we also review and test internal controls within the organization and report on that. And then the state controller issues what's referred to as the audit guide. So there are a number of state compliance areas that we are required to test. And then finally, because you spend more than $750,000 in federal funds, we're required to do a audit of federal compliance as well. So the results of that, the first is the independent auditor's report on the financial statements, which is on pages 1 through 3. We issued what's referred to as an unmodified opinion. As a board member, that's the opinion you're looking for. So good job there. Following that is management's discussion and analysis. And again, that's a good place. If you're not a numbers person, it's a good place to start because it really, in narrative form, gives you a good overview and analysis of what's transpired for the district over the last year. Then the fund financial statements, the notes to the financial statements will provide you more detailed information on account balances, and especially some of the more significant ones like your long-term liabilities, your capital assets, and those types of things. In the supplementary information, there are certain schedules required by the state to be included in the report. So those are in that supplementary section on pages 56 through 74. Then we get to the report on state compliance. So that is another unmodified opinion. And again, that's what you're looking for is the unmodified opinion, meaning we did not identify any any state compliance issues during the year. The report on internal controls, we did identify one item, which I will discuss in a little bit later. And then the report on federal compliance is also an unmodified opinion. We looked at two major programs, Title I and the Child Nutrition Program, and again, didn't have any compliance issues or control deficiencies within those programs. Then the last section of the audit report, starting on page 83, is kind of a summary of the audit results, the things I just told you, kind of summarized there on that page. And then we actually have findings and recommendations. So this year we had one area of internal controls, and it had to do with documentation and the pay for some individuals. There was some miscommunication or lack of communication between departments or however it flows, but a couple of people were overpaid or underpaid, and they're very small dollar amounts over a period of a couple of years. They got on the wrong schedule, they didn't withhold the right dollar amount or whatever that might be, and those have all been resolved at this point, but those were things that came up during the audit, and so those were reported in there, and we're thankful they were just small amounts. Then the very last section is the status of prior year findings. And there was one, again, related to where people were placed on the pay scale, and that had been resolved. So we did not identify any of those issues in the current year. So that's the audit report itself. So following the audit report, there are two other letters. So one is required communications to the board. It's just to let you know that we were able to conduct the audit as planned, given this whole COVID pandemic, no issues with management. Everything went pretty smoothly. We did not have any audit adjustments, which was very good. That's, again, very critical that you're getting good financial information throughout the year. The third letter is what we refer to as a management letter. So these aren't necessarily control deficiencies, but they are things that could improve the process. And what happened was a number of the sites are a little slow on getting information on their submitting their expenses to the district office. And so, they didn't get those expenses, and they might be from March or February of the year, and they're not getting them until September, October. And so they're not being recorded in the proper period. Again, these aren't significant dollar amounts, but there needs to be a process that they're getting them in more timely rather than an expense in March that's not coming into the district office until September. So you'll see in this finding that there is a response, there is a corrective action plan, and so they have already addressed these comments. So that's kind of a quick overview of the audit. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Board have any questions? Come on, somebody's got to, don't you guys care about the audit? Somebody's got to have a question.
Come on, Bob, it was such a good audit, they don't have to ask questions.
I have a question.
Sure. Okay,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
ask one.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you like your job? There's a question.
Me?
Yes.
I love my job.
Yeah, he
Good.
loves it.
People who love their jobs tend to do a good job. So thank you for that answer, that honest answer.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga, you have a
Yes.
question?
I just was concerned about the overpayments and underpayments. How are we ensuring that doesn't happen?
So if you look in the audit report, there is management does provide a corrective action plan. It's like the second to last page of the audit report, or maybe not quite there. Actually, I don't have it with me, but Liz, do you remember what the specifics were? I'm trying to, working from home doesn't work very well.
Liz, I think you're mute.
Liz, unmute yourself, unmute.
Let me send it to you, the details on it, and kind of explain it to you in an email, because I don't have it in front of me right now.
Thank you.
I'm trying to pull up the report from your board agenda.
Yeah.
It should be in there.
Okay, we'll get any other questions on that? So do we not have closing procedures that, oh, Trustee Land, sorry.
I was just curious about the sites. What sites are we talking about and how many?
Are you talking about the ones that aren't submitting expenses?
Yes.
There were two specific sites. I don't have the name. They're in the letter itself. I think it lists the sites.
You mean?
I'm not positive about that, but there were two specific sites that submitted late, and it was about 20,000 in expenses.
Were you talking about high schools or like budget center sites?
High schools.
They're most likely coming in from the school sites, and the district, we send out a closing calendar because it's all aligned with the county, and they're very meticulous as to what is the last day they will take anything. And so we back it all up. But, it was a tough year this year, and the stuff was, a lot of the material came in late and was not compliant. And this is just one of the flaws, and it will be resolved.
Okay. I was just curious. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Well, okay, I certainly appreciate your effort, David. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
I know you worked hard at this audit, because every audit this year has been
We're still working on audits.
Hey, I'm still working on them too. So I'm like, we need to get this done so we can move on. So is there a motion to accept the district financial audit results?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Trustee Leeswire, a second by Trustee Land. Trustee Andrade Zuniga. She votes yes. Trustee Land.
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Leeswire.
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll vote yes, so that will pass 5-0. Now we're going to talk about the measures M, O, and L performance audits.
So, okay. So again, there are several components to this. So the two main components is the financial audit and then the performance audit. Within the financial audit, again, we issue an opinion on the financial statements as well as a report on internal controls, because we test controls specifically over the bond expenditures as well. So the difference between the financial audit and the performance audit. So the financial audit is verifying the proper accounting for sources and uses of the bond funds. The performance audit is verifying that the bond funds were appropriately spent on projects that were specifically approved in the ballot language. So with respect to the financial audit, Again, it's an unmodified opinion. That's what you're looking for. When we look at the fund financial statements, Measure M spent the rest of their money this last fiscal year. They had 1.5 million left, so they have no funds remaining. Measure O spent about 12.5 million. They have about $24 million left. And Measure L just got started. There was about 2.5 million of expenditures, and there's almost $94 million left. So that's kind of where they stand. The other information in there, one of the key things in the footnotes is, you enter into contracts at different points in time of the year, and some of them may be, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. So it shows you the contract commitments that are left as of June 30th. So you might have $1 million contract that you still have $800,000 committed to with respect to those projects. So that's detailed in that footnotes. The report on internal controls, we did not identify any deficiencies with respect to controls over the source and uses of bond funds. The performance audit, again, making sure that the funds are appropriately spent on those projects. In the ballot language, we had an unmodified opinion. So basically, we did not identify funds that were inappropriately spent. And just to give you a little idea, we tested roughly 85% of expenditures for all 3 bond measures. So it's quite a significant amount of testing that we look at. So overall, yeah. So that one was, across the board, everything you want to see in the unmodified opinions and no control deficiencies.
Thank
you. Happy to answer any questions.
Good.
Does the board have any questions? Did you present this to the oversight committee, the citizens oversight?
We did not specifically present.
Not yet.
Okay.
No, we waited to present it. It comes here first, and then we present it to the oversight committee.
Okay. Because I know they also do a really good job of grilling and asking questions and prodding. So, I just want to make sure because their name's on the letter too. So anyway, are there any questions? If not, is there a motion?
Move approval.
Okay, Mr. Hanley and Ms. Lees Dwyer is the second. Ms. Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote? Okay, she's voting yes. Trustee Land,
Yes.
how do you vote? Trustees Lees Dwyer,
Yes.
how do you vote? Trustee Hanley,
Yes.
okay, I'll vote yes. So we have a 5-0 to accept the performance audits on the bond programs. And thank you, Mr. Becker.
All righty, thank you.
And we must be, do we have any requested items under T? We don't have the list there, but I thought we used to have a list that was on there.
Yeah, I'll check on that. It might have gone in the transition, but we'll figure that out. And then I want to remind the board that we discussed having a retreat. I think we set the date of the 7th. Mr. Keenan, you got everybody confirmed?
No, we need to still confirm from Trustee Dwyer and Trustee Land if 3 p.m. will work.
Yeah, well, 3 p.m. work on the June 7th.
June?
January 7th.
January.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look at my calendar. That for some reason
January 7th is a Thursday, right?
It's a Thursday.
Yes, I can say yes.
Okay. Do you want me to go get my calendar really? No, you know what? I'm going to have to look.
Just, we can do that. You can work out the details. Trustees Lees Dwyer, you have another item?
Yeah, because I think the last time we met, I think I've asked for this twice, so it should be on there. Some sort of way to honor people who have served the district, both in a volunteer and employee capacity, beyond anyone's expectations. And I named the people that I thought, should definitely be considered, and there'll probably be others, but I really do want to look at that. I don't know if we have a memorial garden or something that we can do to recognize, like Millie Swan. She did so much for this district, and I want her recognized. I really want, like Larry Teixeira, different people who have really given their heart and soul to this district. So, but the other thing is I'd really like to have a report on where we are in special ed, probably during the first quarter, before the end of the first quarter. What has the new director seen? What has the new director done? Where are we going? How many cases do we have any cases of litigation? What's the status of our IEPs? You know, just a really kind of big picture look at what we have going on in special ed.
Great, we'll do that.
Any other? Trustee Land.
So to tie into that, can we also have a closed session report on cases in special ed? Just kind of update.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
Any other comments? Okay, well, I guess we're very close. I don't have a gavel, but we're done for the evening. So thank you, everybody. Get some
Survived your
rest.
first meeting.
Yeah.
Happy
Get some
holidays to
rest,
everyone.
and we'll choose up sides on the other side of the year. A happy new year.